Recording?
Again, I'm recording and the voice is on.
Okay. Hey, welcome to a new episode of Outstanding Vegan. I'm here with you, Jay. Finally, we get the chance to meet each other. It's a real pleasure. I know you're snacking on South African snacks.
Some good grapes.
Oh, grapes, okay. Actually, you know, it's really funny. I was at the store and I had issue finding South African grapes.
Yeah, they all get exported, I'm sure. All of our good produce leaves the country.
Which is insane because you have so many vineyards here in South Africa.
Yeah.
Good wine that is no worldwide.
Well, maybe that's why, because they're using the grapes for
They just
the wine.
For the wine. Oh,
yeah.
So you're born and raised in South Africa?
Yeah.
But not Cape Town?
Not Cape Town, originally from Johannesburg. So I'm Jay McNamara, by the way, and I'm a vegan chef and a father to a beautiful vegan son. And I have the honor to speak to Nathan today about vegan things. So very passionate about these things. I grew up in Johannesburg, so not so far from here, 1,500 kilometers. I guess that's 700 miles.
100 miles, but kilometers enough to know it's really far.
Yeah, apparently so. 15-hour drive for sure.
Wow.
So Cape Town is the mother city, as you know, and it's a great location to bring up a child. I don't know much about Europe. I've been to one or two places, but I'm sure it's got a European feel to it. Cape Town,
definitely
so
a big European
quite cosmopolitan.
Exactly, that's the main reason.
Yeah, so I think that's also one of the main reasons that South Africans like myself semi-great from Johannesburg to Cape Town. It's a beautiful place to raise a family.
Was it in your mind when you decided to move from Johannesburg? You were already having the idea of building a family here?
Absolutely. When I left in 2012, 2013 to go study yoga and vegan chefing, and that's when we decided to come back. If we were going to come back, because we also had the mindset, my partner and I at the time, to stay in the States or wherever the world would take us.
Just pushing you. What's the name of your partner?
At the time, that was my wife, Michelle.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we're not together anymore, but that's life, you know, and we're still on speaking terms here and there. So the affairs of the heart is a whole nother story.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so where was I?
At the time in the States. So you study yoga and vegan chefing in the States. Where exactly?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to study yoga with Jiva Mukti is the name of the style of yoga, Jiva Mukti Yoga from New York. And my teachers, Sharon Gannon and David Life, are both huge animal rights activists and advocates for veganism. And their movement is actually what brought me to veganism. Jiva Mukti is it. And I'm actually getting goosebumps thinking about it because
I can see it. Really
just like amazing people that have the best interests of our planet and animals at heart and in mind. And so I studied with them in Costa Rica. They did their first teacher training there in 2012.
So you were there in 2012?
Yeah, and I was, it's just fortunate at the time that I was able to afford it and go and do it. I didn't have a child at the time, so a lot more carefree, footloose and carefree. And so I studied with them, and I'd been vegan for about 3-4 years before that already. So I'd been
here in Johannesburg. You were in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my background is advertising and events. And animation. That's actually what I studied when I left school. And as life took me along my journey, I started moving into different areas and art and film and all this kind of stuff. And then finally opened up my own business as an events manager and advertising. And then yoga came into my life, and I just didn't want to do that
anymore.
Corporate capitalism thing anymore. There's a place for it, and people that do that in the world, great for them, but it wasn't for me anymore. And yoga was my path, and part of that was food as well. And
you say like, I mean, I saw this, often I see this post on Instagram, yoga is vegan.
yeah.
That definitely define for you what is yoga.
Absolutely. They go hand in hand. You know, if you look at the core concept of the yoga philosophy, the very first concept, the very first yama, which is restraint, is ahimsa. Don't harm, do the least amount of harm, don't hurt.
Possible.
And that comes down to animals too, right? Not just to people, the planet, animals, anything that you can do, tread lightly, be kind, do the best you can. And so that resonated with me. And veganism wasn't a far stretch. I was already on the vegetarian path for a long time before that.
So it was already a journey that started.
Yeah.
And you already had this entrepreneurial fiber that you still have now.
Yeah.
Running.
Don't know why.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
It's really interesting. So you have this spiritual journey that come with yoga. Veganism first or yoga first?
So
hand to hand.
They're basically hand in hand for sure.
Okay.
Yoga showed me the light and enlightened me for sure, because I was still on the path of I'm vegetarian, I'm doing my best, but you know, then now and again I would have fish, so that's not vegetarian, that's flexitarian, right?
Yeah.
Or pescatarian. So you create all these labels in your head when you think you're trying to do the best thing, but you're not actually. As a vegetarian, you're kind of sitting on the fence, and you may be doing a lot more harm by doing that. Just, you know, in my opinion, it wasn't the right way to live. So
it was about to go full in.
Sure, and if I think back on that time now, my health was totally different. I struggled. I've never really had allergies and that, but as I got older, for some reason, I got allergies. Those kinds of things started to pop up, and sinus issues. And as soon as I went vegan, that disappeared because of the milk and all of the dairy that I wasn't consuming anymore, and the cheese. So it just worked for me, and it's been a challenge being vegan in the beginning here in South Africa, for sure.
I mean, yeah, because so Costa Rica, then you went to the States for a few times?
Yeah, back and forth a few times. Sorry, planet, wasn't really doing much good for the planet with all those airplane trips.
We can...
Yeah, so to backtrack, 2009, I was fortunate enough to come into contact with some really amazing yoga teachers in Johannesburg that was teaching the Jivamukti method, and they opened my eyes through a documentary called Earthlings.
Earthling, it's really interesting. I met at a cafe someone who talked to me about Earthling. I never watched it.
Okay.
Apparently it's one of the first vegan documentary
that
was out there.
Joaquin narrates it. It's intense. It's an intense documentary, and part of the yoga teacher training that my wife at the time was involved in, they asked all the people in the teacher training group, as do Jivamukti, when you go do their teacher training, they ask, well, actually all yoga, as far as I know, most yoga teacher trainings, they ask you to go vegetarian at least, if you're not already, and vegan would be the ultimate, or plant-based. And so we were like, okay, great. So, and then they gave documentaries to watch. And so we watched this documentary, and everything in that documentary was making so much sense until I got to the fish. Because in my mind, now and again, I was still eating fish, and it was like, nah, it's not a problem. Fish is fine.
Yeah, fishes are everywhere.
Yeah. And then, yeah, exactly.
We don't see them in the water. They're doing fine.
And then I saw that part in this documentary about fish, and it just broke my heart. And I was like, okay, I'm stopping eating that now as well. So let's go full vegan. That was about 2009. And I haven't looked back. Have not looked back since then. Early days. And it was very difficult. South Africa.
Was that one of the reasons? When did you open your first restaurant?
So I opened my first Kind Kitchen in 2017. 2018. And 2017, I started doing a lot of I went to people's homes and cooked for them in their homes, and built up my brand and the name that way, and started small. So I did that, and I did some home deliveries with Uber Eats. Uber Eats had just entered South Africa in 2017.
So you were having a dark kitchen.
Dark kitchen, yeah. I decided that concept was cool. I didn't want to go and spend all this money unnecessarily. I wanted to learn, take my skills, which I'd learned in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
So that's where I studied as a chef, Austin, Texas, in 2013. So
it was cool because it's really, for me, the path of like teaching vegan food, even nowadays, is probably the less explored aspect in the vegan world. You want to go to restaurants, kind of in many countries pretty easy. When you come to learn how to cook, not just a master class, but really how to be a chef, how to run your kitchen, how to run all of these. Back in these times, I was still young. The time you talk about, it was already possible. Yeah. But you find that in the States. Yeah. You had to go.
Yes, unfortunately, I looked at a few local culinary schools here in South Africa, but none of them were doing vegan. None of them were doing plant-based. I could do maybe a course for a week here and there, just like a masterclass, like you're saying, with some raw foodies. Raw has always been very important as well in my life, especially with yoga. You want to be as light as possible when you practice, and heavy foods, doesn't matter if it's vegan or not. Heavy foods, heavy food.
We're like a vegan yesterday.
Oh, right.
I know what vegan heavy food.
James's stuff is great, but that's comfort food right there.
Definitely.
Backtracking. 2012, did my yoga teacher training in Costa Rica for a month. That was amazing. So we were there for 6 weeks, just surfing, doing yoga, just being part of the planet, going to different sanctuaries to see how they're looking after the various animals that are getting hurt because of, lots of consumerism happening. A lot of Americans migrating to Costa Rica because they're getting out of America and they want to live within the forests and that. But with that comes a whole bunch of development that's happening, and laying of cables and electrical cables and all this kinds of stuff. So one of their animals is the Howler Monkey, that they swing from tree to tree, but then these power cables are in the middle of the forest and they happen to grab onto that. But if they grab one cable, it's fine. But as soon as they grab the second, they get arched. Yeah. So they earth themselves and they die. But then they have these little babies, which are still generally alive. And now the mother's dead. So these people in Costa Rica, in Nosara, were helping to take care of them and educate the government about what's going on. So Costa Rica is on the up for one of the most blue zones in the world, where they're conserving and looking after stuff, the planet and animals. Wow. So it's a great place to go and study and immerse yourself in yoga and food and nature and all this kind of stuff. And then after that, I gave up my shares in my business and I was fortunate enough to be, have the money to go and study some more in 2013.
So you totally quit the business?
Yeah, I quit the business.
You started?
Yeah, quit it. Had enough of it, much to my partner's dismay. He carried on with the business for some time, but it was time for me to go. And so
we was in Johannesburg.
Okay. Johannesburg. We were doing some work with some big banks, local banks, FNB, Standard Bank, some big corporates, and it was time to move on, and went off to Austin, Texas, and studied there. And lo and behold, as I got to Austin, Texas, we didn't realize at the time when we signed up, but when we got there, the chef that was going to teach us was South African. No way. We didn't know that. And when we got there she was, South African. She's from Cape Town. She's from Tableview.
What's her name?
Inga Botma.
Okay.
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
Amazing.
So we still follow each other on Instagram and chat. She'll be here in a few weeks' time. So if you're still around,
definitely,
it'll be great to meet.
Really amazing.
So she taught me all I know really in the vegan world. And from there, it's just been a great experience and journey. Opening up Kind Kitchen, obviously COVID hit.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But you adapt.
Yeah.
Because you also have, so with Kind Kitchen, you started as, so now I know, a bit of private chefing, kind of.
Yes.
Then you went to restaurant, and you also have meat alternative, plant-based meat alternative.
Yeah.
When did you start that? When did you add that to the panel of the Kind Kitchen?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. So when Kind Kitchen started, from day one, I knew that I wanted to make a lot of my own stuff. So pestos, sauces, wraps, gluten-free wraps, our seitan products, our plant-based meats. Excuse me. So already then I was making them from our home kitchen. Over time, I've developed and recreated the recipes to what customers and clients really enjoyed about the recipes. So then when COVID hit and I had to close our first location, which was in the wine farm region in Constantia, I already knew then that it was time to pivot the business and to start doing more of our own product and getting it into retail and delivering to people's homes. And that did well. But the only thing with restaurants, and I guess any business, is that you need to have a good resource of money to assist you. Clients are one thing, but you need to have a decent amount, especially when these pandemics hit.
It's like a cash reserve.
A cash reserve, yeah. So unfortunately, we weren't able to invest enough of resource to help push the product to where it needed to be. So sadly, we had to close the second location because deliveries weren't enough. That happened this year, actually, in February.
So at the beginning, the hope was for the product to help sustain the restaurant through the COVID crisis.
Correct.
But that didn't happen, so you had to focus only on the product.
Yeah.
Are you willing to go back to the restaurant?
Yeah, absolutely. So those products didn't work back then, about a year ago, a year and a bit ago, when we were trying to get them to market. We didn't know enough about it then either. But then we closed the second location. Sadly, my life felt like it was falling apart a little bit with my career. My little boy had just been born in December. I was...
A year ago?
A year ago yesterday.
We're recording in December. So
So things felt like they were falling apart in my career, but then I decided, okay, it's time to focus on those products and focus on the brand again, and the brand, to get it back off the ground. What would that need? What would I need to get? So I just applied myself to that, and not even a few months later had some interested investors.
South African investors?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I spoke to the international community. I had quite a few interested people in Germany, actually. Holland, another company, a sustainable brand in Holland called Hivos, wanted to invest. But as the second wave, I think it was at the time, hit in December here in South Africa, that variant, the Delta variant, they got in touch and they just said, look, we have to pull our resources. We have to just wait and see what happens.
Stand back for yourself.
So it's almost been a year, and once I have something in my head, I'm going to go for it.
Okay.
You can't stop me. So I went for it, and I just applied myself, and we got a lot of support from the community here in South Africa. People helped where they could.
What's your team? What was your team at the moment? Because closing locations, you had to let people go.
Yeah, we had 20 full-time staff between the two restaurants, and we had to unfortunately let all of them go. And about two or three of them still helped me from time to time doing markets in the wine farm area, some markets here in town. 3 weeks ago we did a sit-down dinner for 20 people, 3-course meal for some Swiss friends. They were celebrating a birthday. So those employees of mine,
Still gravitate.
they come and help me, and we still work in kitchens together like that. We've got another event next week. We had an event last night. So it's this time of year, all these year-end functions are happening. All these corporates are wanting more and more plant-based because that's the future, right?
Definitely.
So
And you felt that change also.
yeah, totally. So it didn't work in last year, but now it is. And at the time just wasn't right last year, but now it is. And the brand's strong, the products are selling nicely.
It's thriving.
It's thriving at too, where it can always be better, but
Yeah.
things happen in their time, and I'm okay with that.
Because at the same time, even though you had an entrepreneurial background, and even though you had restaurants, marketing product was a new area that you had to discover on the field.
Yeah.
Did you had someone joining in to help you in that process, or it was the same people and the same energy, just like we want to keep on moving forward?
So I had a few people helping me, but not enough. So I just applied myself with new knowledge and lots of tutorials online and YouTube and just saw what was going on out there and how to best change and make this change. And actually the guys, I must shout out to Vevolution I think they're from Germany, I think.
Organizing entrepreneur events and helping
so it's
entrepreneur.
So it's evolution, but with a V. So Vevolution.
Yes.
So Eric and his team, they really helped out. They did a feature on us a few months ago, and that's where we got some interest again from Germany and different places around the world. And people gave us advice, free advice, and they were like, try this, do that, look at this, because so much is happening overseas, right? South Africa, there's a lot happening, but sometimes it tends to take a lot longer for the resources to trickle down here.
There's a little feeling of, personally, this is the feeling I have sometimes. What I was saying to Vanessa is this bit feeling of island sometimes, especially Cape Town, which seems, I grew up a part of my childhood in Cameroon, and arriving here was just like, wow, this is Africa, and not in the bad way, but like, this is amazing what can happen in this continent too, can go fast too, but at the same time you're still 10 to 11 hours of flight away. So even if internet can make information go really fast, the whole change to happen can seem maybe slower.
Super slow, because certain ingredients, like for instance textured pea protein, those kind of alternative proteins, have taken time to get to South Africa. It's only been in the last year maybe that textured pea protein's been readily available for an ingredient for me as an entrepreneur to take and make something with. So that kind of stuff takes time, because if the market isn't buying enough of it, the companies that I get my ingredients from won't bring it in. It's too expensive.
Or for a price that is just
insane. Like the Beyond Burger is made from pea protein. So now that people know what the Beyond Burger is and what it's capable of, they're trying to replicate, as are we. We've got a burger patty coming out that will be along those lines. But I guess my focus now is just finding these meat alternatives that are going one direction as like comfort food meats, which are high in probably various ingredients to make them that, like seitan. But the other focus is making beetroot taste like, I don't know, like a carpaccio, like a wild venison.
So having something really simple, natural, less transformation possible. Because so far, where do you manufacture all the product? Where they're produced?
So all of our stuff was produced until recently in my kitchen in Woodstock, my restaurant kitchen in Woodstock. But as with anything, when you upscale a product that you're making 10 of to 110, you've got to have processes in place, bigger processes in place, and you have to have
it goes smoothly.
exactly, and even more hygienic levels in place, and all of that. So there is a company that has helped us upscale our products. They're out about 40 minutes away from here towards the wine region.
Okay.
So they produce all of our product now. I go in at least once a week, quality control, have meetings with them and discuss the product. And so we've got our tier 1 of products that have just come out. And then there'll be 2 more after this that we're working on to bring to the market. And the third of which will be ready-made meals for home, which is what we were doing at Kind Kitchen, meals that people could enjoy. We want to bring that to people at home.
Directly. On the south,
Yeah.
because the South African vegan scene is
Yes.
absolutely big.
Yes.
From my point of view, I discovered, I was really impressed.
Yes.
But we even have vegan snacks right now. They're all from South Africa.
Yeah.
But it's true that, especially when it comes to the kitchen and to pre-made meals and stuff like this, it's less important. I know I tend to love pre-made meals on busy weeks, busy days.
Sure.
Just to pop in the microwave or in the oven.
Yeah.
And we tend to order more food here when we want fast food kind of, but good food at the same time.
Yeah.
Because of this lack of alternative, a bit of meal.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that...
Yeah, we don't have Whole Foods here, and I guess from my travels overseas, Whole Foods is one of those brands where you can go to their deli section and there's a beautiful array of vegan stuff. Here in Cape Town, there's 1 or 2 spas. The Cape Town, the one Sea Point. I'm sure you've been to it.
Here in Greenpoint and the Vatican.
Yes,
say it with
that's correct. That's cool. The Vatican.
Right?
That's cool.
I always tend to put my French accent. And yes, we have like some deli food. It's really limited when it comes to vegan food, obviously.
Yep.
But that's really Cape Town. Everything you produce is here, South Africa. In South Africa, was it one of your desire to keep something that stay local? It is local.
Absolutely, and my focus for the Kind Kitchen.
You're really enjoying these snacks.
Yeah, it's great. These are good.
Yeah.
Little chocolatey chickpeas.
Chickpeas, it's insane.
Yeah. My focus for the Kind Kitchen, now that we've had a few knocks in the face from COVID, from the global economy crashing, the food security issues, all of these things that we knew were coming for a long time as human beings have happened, and maybe will still continue to happen for quite some time now. Yeah. It's made me realize as well that we need to...
We're having a really
windy
day. It's fine. It's fine. Really windy.
It was really good. It's made me realize that we need to have our own food security here in our own country, and every country in the world is doing this. And what that means is that producing your own goods here for your own people is always a good thing, because
not rely on our country.
Correct.
Or our economy.
Yeah, it's good to have imports and bring in food from another country. That's great, but what if that supply chain runs out? What if that happens? Secondly, we want to give jobs. We want our country to thrive, and every country in the world wants the same thing. We want their people to be strong and happy and healthy. So I want to give jobs, but also the one thing that is really difficult in South Africa with vegan food, and I don't know about globally, you guys would know more about that than I would with all your travels, is the price. The price point on a lot of vegan food and plant-based food can be expensive. So
a pack of crisp level vegan become 0.25 more expensive, which is a huge difference on the large scale.
So for me, that's not on. We need to be able to offer this to everybody for it to be sustainable. So my goal is to try get our prices down And the only way I can do that is supply and demand. You know, like once we get more people wanting our products, then we are able to buy in bigger quantities and get that down and employ more staff. So that's going to happen over time. But I also want that food to be nutritious. I don't just want it to be junk food. I want the nutrition value to be high. Because we do suffer here in South Africa with a big there's a big difference and a big divide of wealth still.
Yes.
Massive divide.
I find it really, from European eyes,
Yeah.
it really came to my eyes
Yeah.
when I arrived. It was really shocking. Took me like quite a few days to take adaptation of that.
If you're living on the street, you don't care what you eat.
Yeah.
Not at all. You're gonna take whatever you can find in the bin, unfortunately, or whatever someone gives you. Wouldn't it be nice that if 80% of the meals they could find if you live on the street is plant-based food? And yes, I mean, people listening at home might just say, well, a vegetable is that, or an apple is that. But it's hard to find those things. And if you don't have the money to go buy yourself one of those, which could be, one apple could cost you 10 Rand, which is, I guess...
Which is, it's half of 1 hour of work.
Correct.
On the minimum wage here.
Correct.
Which is insane.
It's nothing. So there's a lot of things that we have to consider in this country still. And we are labeled as a third world country, but we have first world ambitions, right? And I guess it's kind of like if you have champagne taste, but you only have, sparkling water budget. That's where we're at. So we've got to figure this out, and no one's going to come and help us. No one's going to come and save us. It takes, entrepreneurs to change it.
Especially now with the situation. We were coming December. At the moment we record, the border just got closed again. Yeah. Not from South Africa, but from the other country that just put a ban.
Discrimination, man.
Exactly. For apparently just what we found out today on the news was no reason. You really have this feeling that entrepreneurs in South Africa have to rise and make the change for the country. Yeah. How do you feel that can be encouraged? How can you encourage people around there? Well,
there's definitely lots of things happening around the city that tourists like yourself could do, going into the townships and spending a day there in the sustainable gardens, or just going in there to assist with some of the shelters that they have, and even just taking a tour with the tour buses that take you into the various places where the majority of our population lives. It helps, because that flow down of money from yourself as tourists back into the economy is helping, especially after COVID. But I think the other way is going to always be education. If you can impart some of your own knowledge when you come to the country and help and give of yourself, I think that's always going to be the way. So for me, going forward as a chef, a touch point that I've been speaking to a few culinary schools around town is to say, hey, you need more plant-based options. I'm willing to give up my time and come and teach your people. That would be a great way, because I think if the majority understands how they can take spinach, rice, which is a general meal in the majority of the population, with peanut butter, they understand that already. That's a majority meal for the population eats that. They don't understand that that's vegan or plant-based. They just label it as, that's my food I normally eat, that's my traditional food. But once they make the connection, oh, that's what you mean by plant-based. Well, then most of my food is plant-based, because I eat. Make it easy. Correct. I eat beans a lot of the time. It's not that expensive. Yeah. I know we're doing groceries, and we bought just egg. I never tried just egg. I haven't tried it yet either. For the first time, and the cashier was just like, "Oh, you're vegan," and she was like, "But that's expensive." Because we bought this just egg that indeed was expensive, and I was just like, "Yeah,
I tried to tell her it was really hard when you just buy something for 200 rand for it that's gonna make one dish.
Yeah.
But I was trying to tell her actually that can be the cheapest alternative for you.
Yeah.
And you probably don't realize, but eating lentils and rice in Cameroon, one of the basic dish is red beans and rice.
Yeah.
With beignet, I don't know how you call that.
Is it
fried dough?
Oh yeah.
This is vegan.
Yeah.
And this is the basic dish that people eat before going to work.
Yeah.
And it's plant-based again.
What do you call that?
BH, beignet rico.
Benyahiko. So the South African version of the fried dough is vetkoek,
Okay.
fat cake.
Fat cake.
Yeah.
And you were talking about spinach and peanut butter.
Yeah.
We have this dish called dole, which is made out of peanut paste. Dole, that is kind of a spinach
Yeah.
that you find in Cameroon,
Yeah.
and you eat it basically with rice.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, it is.
It's amazing. That's comfort food right
Yeah,
there.
that's the thing too. Also,
Yeah.
talking about your chef journey,
Right.
Talking about your chef journey, you have a book.
Yeah.
Incoming.
Yeah.
Already written. Already.
Done, dusted.
Okay. When is going to be published?
It is published. It's done. It will be. It's available online already for pre-orders. So I guess by the time this podcast goes out, it will be delivered around the world already. It will be available in mid-January 2022.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's the right time.
So yeah, Penguin, my publishers, really helped out, and they've done a great job with the book. It's, as I was mentioning to you earlier, it was a tough year with all those things happening with the restaurant and closing and COVID and that. But then my boy was born and this book. So, and then now these products, amazing products, and meeting amazing people like yourselves, right? Because we are like-minded and we have, not that we're better than anyone being vegan, right? I'm not trying to say that. And it's just how these connections are made because we're passionate about something that's kind and wanting to change the world.
Definitely.
So,
what's the name of your book and your product? Because you haven't mentioned it.
Oh, right. Okay.
So yeah,
The kind kitchen is the name of the book.
Thing. The Kind Kitchen.
And then the tagline is vegan. Now what? So whenever people came to the restaurant, we would have so many meat eaters that came to the restaurant and they said, "I've just watched Game Changers, the documentary. I've gone vegan, but now what do I do?" So I was like, you do this, you do this, you do this. Yeah. Because I would always explain to him, you just take beans, add some kale to it, put it in a burrito, and you've got an amazing, wholesome meal. But people don't know how to keep the cheese out, or what do you replace it with, or what do you replace butter with? I don't know, coconut oil. You don't need butter. You
don't need it at the first place.
It's just a mindset change. Like, why are you even thinking about dairy? So, yeah, The Kind Kitchen is the name of the book. And the products are, because we're The Kind Kitchen, every part of our products is, so if we've got bacon, we're calling it bacon, but the prefix to it is kind of bacon. So it's kind of like bacon. It's kind of like sausages. So it's kind of sausages, kind of beef, kind of chicken, but it's kind of because it's kind of to the planet and it's kind of like that thing.
That's lovely. Okay, I love that.
Yeah, it's great. People are loving it. And I think it's also starting to help. I was on a panel discussion last night with these guys that are going to be the first cell-based meat producers in cell-based, lab-grown meat.
Okay.
In Africa. And how I feel about it, I'm not still sure right now. But what was interesting was to be on a panel with these people from Mzansi Meat, which means local home in one of our languages here. And then on the panel discussion was also another very intelligent lady that is taking, I'm sure you've seen the fermented vegan cheeses that are coming out in Europe.
Yeah.
So they ferment plants and they extract the certain things that they need out, like casein, similar to cow
casein.
And then they create a plant-based version replica with these clever processes that they do with yeasts and all types of stuff. So on this panel discussion talking about it, I was just so amazed at how much we're expanding again in the plant-based movement, and even the cell-grown meat, the lab meat, was interesting to me because the way it's explained to me and the way I understand it is that the animal obviously is not killed that they're taking the meat from. You take about that big, I guess what's that, a 5 rand or it's a quarter size coin, biopsy from the shoulder, they explained it. And it's just like going for an operation. They don't even put the animal under, they just get him general anesthetic, so it numbs the pain. They take a little bit of the meat, and then they take that and they ferment that and create
and from
fillets.
That coin of meat that they take,
About
how much they can
10,000 fillets, they say.
Sorry. Well, that was a direction. So from that coin, they can take about 10,000.
Something like that. If everything goes according to plan, they can take about 10,000 fillets before they have to start the whole thing again, and it doesn't. So I don't really know too much about the science of it, but what's interesting about it is it's about 100-gram fillets, I guess, which is the general size of a portion. And what's interesting about it is that the animal, yes, does get cut, does get hurt to a degree, but you're satisfying an appetite
of 10,000 serving.
That's not going to go away.
And the animal is not dead.
The animal's not dead.
There is no slaughter process.
Nothing. So there's many gray areas still. Like once they start commercializing this, there will still be a degree of having to take an animal into an area, cut it, hurt it to a degree, and then get that part that they need.
Probably raise an animal
for that. So there's still that kind of stuff that's going to happen. They didn't go into too much detail because I think everyone doesn't know yet. They're still trying to figure this out themselves. But what it does help in my mind is that it's not that we can never change the world to go fully vegan. I think that's a possibility for sure, as I sit here 100%. But it's going to take time. And people won't change like
From
that.
day to another.
Yeah. And it's cultural.
Not everyone goes to Costa Rica.
No, it's exactly. Not everyone has that opportunity. And it's cultural, and it's traditions involved in eating an animal, and all of this kind of stuff. Coming from a family.
And I mean, we're just out of Thanksgiving.
In
people's mind is like.
Turkey's still a thing, even though the negative part of Thanksgiving is still there. The genocide and all of that happened for Thanksgiving. So I think, from my point of view, even as a vegan sitting here, it's not a bad thing what they're doing with lab-grown meat, but it needs to, obviously, we need to find this middle ground of regulation, and the animal still needs to be looked after. Kind of like how kosher happens. A rabbi comes and makes sure that, even with vegan products, right, you need a rabbi to come and certify all your products.
Only vegan? Oh, I didn't know about that.
And that all vegan stuff is naturally halal and kosher, but you still need the supply chain to be checked. So where does the oil come from? Is it sustainable? Does it hurt an animal? All of those things. And now there's a vegan brand in Europe that's also helping vegan labels to say, yes, we are vegan and we're certified because of this brand. Because a lot of people just put a vegan label on it and say it's vegan.
I have no idea.
And it really isn't, I'm sure. So just to backtrack on the cell lab meat, I think it's going to be interesting because it will help. A lot more animals will survive, they won't be killed, and it's going to satisfy those people that still eat that animal flesh.
I still feel the need of eating that flesh.
Yeah, because that's not going to go away anytime soon. So I think helping it is a good thing in a way, but it has its own issues. So
I just want to jump back in the book because of what you said right now, because we have these people that still will be in the need of being need of meat. But you also have these people wanting to make the change.
Yeah.
So the book is the Kind Kitchen is there for that also, because not everyone can come to Cape Town.
Yes.
And even if they should, I believe it's
Yes.
beautiful. The book is there for that also.
Yes.
What was because it's born kind of the same time that your baby, the idea of it, you say?
Yeah, sure. August last year, I got approval from Penguin Random House to do the book.
Okay,
So
2021.
2020.
2020, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
2020 vision. Yeah, 2020, got approval. And it was a shot in the dark that when I sent my proposal to Penguin, I thought, let me try. I've got to do this because people keep asking for a book. A lot of our customers wanted to support us, but
In a different way.
we didn't really have, like I was mentioning earlier, the product maybe wasn't, we couldn't keep up with the demand, and we couldn't get it right. We couldn't package it properly at the time. We didn't have the equipment and the necessary knowledge at the time. So customers were saying, well, don't you have a cookbook that we can buy? So I was like, oh, I actually do. Here's all of my recipes. They're all sitting online, but how do I...
On paper or...
Some of it on paper, some on little notes, some on my phone, some
Okay.
in the cloud, you know, just all over the place. So I thought, okay, time. So we had closed that one location. I had more time on my hands, and yeah, put my head down and got the book done. And it's got over 100 recipes in it. Some of it family recipes which is great because it's family recipes that were meat based and now turned vegan.
That become kind.
Yeah, become kind. So, you know, for instance, some of my mom's desserts are in there, my grand's desserts, my dad, some of his meat-based things that I've turned into, meatballs with lentils and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what's interesting with the book, I try to stay away from seitan products and meat alternatives. I rather wanted to teach people how to make something taste delicious in its raw space. So a mushroom, how do you really cook a mushroom?
So as you were saying earlier, the second focus with the Kind Kitchen.
Yeah.
That is also how to have a limited transformation process.
Yeah.
But a lot of taste at the same time.
Yeah. So that's my thing, and I love cooking mushrooms, and I love trying different exotic mushrooms that are available, like chicken of the woods or oyster or king oyster mushroom, you know, all of these great mushrooms that are out there, because they're so packed with flavor and protein and all the goodness of the earth.
Yes.
And they're healing. So how do we show people how to cook those properly and what to do with them? So making calamari, I guess, a lot of people know these things. Vegans know these things, to take a king oyster and, you know, deep fry it to make like calamari. But a lot of people don't know that. And where do you start? So it's helping them transition. Or if you're vegan already and you're a foodie, it's helping you I give you some of my knowledge of how to do it.
New recipe.
Yeah.
That's one of my questions. I mean, you're early day vegan.
Yeah.
You train early in your days as a vegan too.
Yeah.
As a chef, restaurant, a cookbook. How do you still learn new recipes?
That's absolutely a difficult one because, you know, I get my inspiration from so many different places, and I guess the one place that I get my inspiration for new recipes is when I go to a restaurant and they don't have vegan options. And then I have to pick the menu apart to make something. And that's not often these days because it's becoming a lot more accessible. Or if I don't feel like a Beyond Burger because that's all they have on the menu. So then I get inspired. Okay, well, they're doing lobster thermidor. That's the worst, most unkind thing that you can make someone. But how do we make that delicious for someone in a vegan sense? So I guess my inspiration would come from those kind of situations where...
So if you sit at a restaurant, you will make an order.
Not necessarily of my recipe, but I would look at it and go, I would love to try that, but how do I do it? So let me go make it at home and then come up with a recipe that way. Okay. Yeah.
That's really
So a lot of times that has happened, and I guess going forward, it's just about being inspired by new chefs that are coming onto the scene, and there's a lot of great local chefs, plant-based chefs coming onto the scene. Being inspired by what's happening overseas. Asian food always inspires me.
big source of inspiration.
Yeah, big time.
I often say what we would do with that Asian food.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
Absolutely. So if I look at these amazing things happening online, how do I do that? How can I create something similar? And yeah, just learn from those, I guess. And Instagram makes it so much easier these days.
To access information.
Yeah, yeah.
I know that Instagram can be life-changing.
Yeah.
On that part though, your presence on social media
Yeah.
is a bit more shadow.
Yes.
That your presence here in Cape Town in South Africa, what you're doing.
Yeah.
I got a chance to saw you with that the kind kitchen, actually, this collaboration with Live Kindly.
The collective, yeah.
The collective.
Yeah.
This is how I find you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I need to find this Instagram. I know I'm going to Cape Town.
Yeah.
I need to find it. And it was hard even to find you.
Yeah.
Why that? Even though you're really proactive on many things, why social media is something...
So I guess one area to it is maybe my age. I'm 42 now. So maybe there's that
You make
gap.
it sound like it's so old.
I know, right? But there is that gap. There's that gap. I'm not that millennial. I'm not that younger generation that is so easily adapted to creating reels like that, you know, like on the fly. Also, my life has gotten involved from my son. He's like my everything, you know?
Yeah.
So I would rather focus my attention on him, unfortunately, a lot in the day, than unfortunately post an Instagram video about what I've cooked.
Yes.
So there's many excuses I have. But it is at the back of my mind that I need to be more out there, because my personal social media account is very low in how many people know about me and how many people follow me, which doesn't bother me at all. I don't care.
But around the brand.
Yeah, Kind Kitchen is a lot bigger, and I focus a lot of my attention there, and we post often there. So yeah, I guess the reason for it is just time. Sometimes is I don't have it, and because I manage my own social media accounts at the moment.
Yeah.
And also, having done it for so long, where as an art form, if you're not going to do it properly, then don't do it at all, right?
Because you're also into film.
Yeah.
Does that influence you to be like a bit perfectionist in something?
If I take a picture and the lighting's not right,
You rather not post
then I
it.
get upset and I just delete the picture and I don't want to
Okay.
post it. Or if I didn't plate the thing properly and it doesn't look good because I was pushed for time at home, then I don't want to post it. And actually I should, because people would appreciate that more, like, oh, that's not the best plating, but it looks still
Looks
delicious.
good, yeah.
And then writing out that recipe and sending it to people. These are all things I know I have to do and I'm going to do. But
I'm
when
a bit of a perfectionist side.
and when I have a chore, then I just tend to go, When it's not fun anymore, then no.
Yes.
So that's the reason, I guess. And when Live Kindly came along and said, we want to focus on you and do an insert with the Kitchen Collective as one of the South African chefs, my fellow colleague in Johannesburg, Makgadi,
Yeah.
she was also featured. And it's great that we were both featured. But yeah, you got to be on it all the time. And even with the cookbook coming out, I just want to share all the recipes and all the amazing photography that we've taken, because there's so much. But they don't, they won't allow it, because
Still have
then
to be
why would
That's
people
all
buy
there.
the book?
Yeah,
So it's capitalism at its best, It's like, Jay, we're trying to sell your book. Don't give the stuff away for free. But I'm like, but I want to give it away for free, but you can't. So
They say, do something else that you want to get for free.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's my focus now. This December is to start to do more Instagram videos and that. a phone upgrade at some point will be good, because my old 6S is not it's not gonna cut it with the camera anymore. So yeah, it's all of that I will. But we do have some partners that have been talking to us. They want to do some videos with us, and maybe for the new year there'll be more flow.
Which is really great.
Yeah.
And so also time managing.
Yeah.
Now as a dad.
Yeah. You look at my eyes, Nathan. These are tired eyes. I am tired.
Yeah. And by the way, thank you so much. For taking the time.
Yeah.
On your afternoon when I myself at 23, I'm a fan of afternoon nap.
See?
That's something that
we're all 20 years apart, man.
yeah. So how do you come to time management? Because here on this podcast is also not just vegan chef, but also vegan entrepreneur or even non-vegan entrepreneur that are interested.
Yeah.
Or how can they take a bit of knowledge of this 42-year-old man?
Sure. I guess the best way to do it is just go for it. Jump in straight away, go head first, and do the stuff that makes you happy. It's always been definitely my motto. Is I'm not going to just wait for days for something to happen. If I want to do something, I'm going to get it done. And do it.
Is that chores or even
chores? Everyone's got to adult at some point. Wash those dishes. But I think on a serious note though, yoga did teach me these kind of mindfulness tricks, right? And even when you're washing dishes, or when you're changing your son's nappy, or doing these menial tasks, it's all part of the process of life, right? And it's all part of your day. So why begrudge it? Just be mindful of it and work through it with simple mantras, simple song in your head that makes you happy. Those kinds of things definitely help, because some things can be tedious, and there's things we don't like doing. So I guess.
We have to.
Yeah. As for knowledge and advice, I'm still learning myself every day. I'm so amazed by the various chefs that I get to meet, and I can definitely say 100% that I have been so fortunate in my experiences I've had, and where I am at this point in my career, I've been super fortunate, because a lot of chefs work 10 years in a kitchen as an apprentice before they even get somewhere close to where I've been fortunate enough to be, writing a cookbook, publishing already, having the showcasing on a podcast like this, or with Live Kindly. It takes people time to get there, and I've been fortunate enough to get there. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that my various experiences that I've had have led me to this point. So if any advice is, enjoy those experiences, because those experiences lead you to the ultimate experience that you're always going to have every day, right? And it's just part of the process to get you to where you want to be. So never ever underestimate what's happening in your life at that time, that it's too menial or not enough. It's always going to be enough, because a year later you'll look back on that time and you'll go, yes, that's why I needed to go through that. We needed to let go of 2 restaurants. We needed to lose brand and then rebuild the brand. All of this had to happen for us to get to where we are now, stronger.
Where you are now.
Yeah.
Stronger.
So I think that's the best advice I can give, is that I've learned that over my short space of time on this planet.
That you're probably at the right place where you are.
All the time. The people you meet, like us now, we're all here to help each other and do what we can. And these experiences we share are super important, because COVID definitely taught us that. When we were all in lockdown, wow, that was intense.
Yes.
And we're still in lockdown, but
kind of
not in the intense lockdown that we had.
Yeah, we're last year.
Where it was 3 weeks or 3 months solid.
At home, you go for groceries, you're happy.
People, yeah,
Yeah.
How fun was that?
How fun was that? Yeah.
Okay, I'm going for groceries. Normally I'd be like, oh, I'm going for groceries.
It taught us a lot, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I have a small question.
Yes.
Because restaurant business is, I would say, maybe a more accessible business in the way we see it. Okay, you get a place, you get kind of a team, few tables, you can start something. Of course, it's way more complicated.
Yeah.
How did you get into I produce product and I get to have a reseller? Because obviously you cannot sell everywhere. First of all, where are the kind product available?
So at the moment, they're only available online in Cape Town. So we're working on a footprint, and this is part of our learning for retail. How do we get a frozen product to stay frozen and ship it to Johannesburg, 1,500 kilometers away?
So you see, now it's far.
Now it's very far.
Now it's really far.
How do you get it there? Because most courier companies will come and collect in the afternoon, around about now, take it to their distribution point, and then send it the next day. So it will get there 24 hours later. So how do you keep that cold? How do you stop using too much plastic? How do you keep the food fresh without using plastic? Because plastic's the only thing we kind of know about right now, other than glass and tin. But those things, they're difficult, they're heavy. Heavy means expensive because of weight and all of these things. So we're still in a very difficult place from a packaging point of view. There are companies in America and probably Europe and Australia that are starting to bring out Mycelium Packaging, which is mushrooms. So it's made from mushrooms and it's fully biodegradable. There's cornstarch plastic that melts at 50 degrees though Celsius. So these are challenges. But how did we go from restaurant to retail? It's still something that we're learning, and it's not an easy process. I mean, so again, one of my fortunate situations that I had last year at one of the hardest times of lockdown in South Africa, my business partner now joined me in the Kind Kitchen. She was waitressing at the time and she needed a job. We just met through friends of friends. She had found herself in hard times and I gave her a job and we just clicked. And a few months later, she left, unfortunately, because I couldn't pay her enough. We weren't busy enough and all of that, but it was just our time to go separate ways. And she said to me in passing, I love what you guys are doing here. I love the brand. One day when I've got the money to invest, I'm going to invest. Okay. I was like, yeah, great. What happened? A few months later, there she was. I want to invest. It's so strange how life works, right? So here we are working on this brand together as a partnership, trying to get the brand back to where it needs to be and going from the restaurant to the retail space. And we're learning every day. So last night at this event, long story this, but last night at this event that I was on the panel discussion for, we were doing the catering for them. And there is a whole bunch of investors and a whole bunch of people in the retail industry that are now listening to our story. So today we've had a lot of people connecting with us and saying, we like what you're doing, we can help you here, we can help you there. So again, all these experiences have led us to this point again. So I guess it's as much about your network and who you connect with as it is about having the money to do these things. The best thing I can say from my experience so far in this journey has been, I have the idea, we have the customers. Rock and roll. Idea and customers. Well, no, we've got the product.
Okay.
And we have the customers. So that's rock and roll. But the in-between part is the gap.
Okay.
How do we make
don't make the joke, but we just walk.
Yeah. So this is where we're at now. Like, how do we bridge that gap? And we're bridging that gap now because of just the connections and the customers that are out there that want to keep supporting us. So I think what I'm trying to say in a short space of time here is that have the idea, know how, if you have the customers, great, or at least if you know where you want it to be. The rest will fill in itself as long as you've got the idea and the passion.
And you start making it.
Just go for it. And like my teacher Sharon always says to me from yoga is, your intention always has to be pure. If you have a pure intention of something, it's gonna manifest, right? In whatever way or form it needs to manifest. And every time I've thought about that simple thing she mentions in her teachings and that, it always does work out that way. So as soon as you're doing something with a pure heart and manifesting it with a pure heart, it's gonna happen to the pureness that it needs to be. So yeah, it sounds a bit yogi now and philosophical.
It's beautiful, but I think it really have entrepreneurial application.
Yeah.
And I started a vegan journey through yoga. Also, it's my yoga teacher.
Nice.
In Berlin in 2019, not that long ago, who challenged me to start a vegan challenge.
And where in Berlin? Which studio?
Actually not in the studio. She was a private teacher.
Okay.
In France. And yeah, she just like encouraged me.
Cool.
Morgan, I say hi though.
That's awesome. Well done, Morgan.
Yeah, and all went through a journey of travel and stuff like this.
Yeah.
And so I definitely understand that whole part that also led me to also start a more entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
And leave the army world where I was in the army.
You were in the army?
Yeah.
That's so far removed for us South Africans as well. We have an army, but no one needs to go.
Okay.
Or wants to go.
We don't have to go. I wanted to go.
Okay. Wow.
Yes. Now feel free.
And was that a great experience as well?
That's the thing. This is what you say about you always at the right place.
Yeah.
Often in my life, even now, or even being here in South Africa, I often have these moments like I need to do that because then it led me to be scouted as a model.
Wow.
Then it led me to make that first travel, you know, etc. Then led me to meet my girlfriend right now, Vanessa, and all these stuff that led me here today and be able, also with this podcast, to just share journey around food entrepreneur, vegan food entrepreneur and vegan chef.
Yeah.
You're one of them. Really happy to have you.
Thank you.
It's a really great journey.
No, it sounds like an incredible journey that's going to continue going for so many years, and your modeling career is going to take you where you need to go, and you will do great things with that as well, because you know, the world is changing. Leather's disappearing. It's turning to mushroom. And you know, you know, that is happening more and more and more. Gucci and all these brands are seeing the negative impact they're making in the world. So it's great to be part of that. You're at the forefront of another industry that needs to change.
Yeah, definitely. It does. Fashion industry have changed too. Yeah,
and the food industry is changing like that. You've seen so many chefs lately that have gone like in New York. One of the most popular ones, 11 Madison, I think it is, changed, not overnight, but they've changed.
Yeah,
so the whole menu's vegan. So it's made a big hoo-ha in the industry. So that's great.
In London, there's this big restaurant, Gautier in Soho.
Yeah.
That went vegan not overnight, of course.
Yeah.
Now it's since few years that he is.
Yeah, I follow him.
Stars.
Yeah.
And he's just like, okay, you know what?
Something new.
Yeah, something new. Which is also, I believe, a way to reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
It can be a bit of a challenge, especially for people that are in the industry for many years, that have many restaurants, since like 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, okay, how can be new? How can reinvent myself?
Yeah, absolutely.
Happily, it's kind of.
Yeah, happily it is. I mean, look, the what we faced with every day, there are still lots of challenges with even the vegan restaurants and the vegan retail, because we're still part of this huge
Sorry, kombucha attack.
Oops.
Take this one.
It's
Take
okay,
this
I
one. No, baby, take this one.
Oh, it's like when we're having a break, like we're already recording for 1:10 and there's like 15 minutes left.
I mean,
Okay.
So,
I think we'll wrap up soon.
yeah,
Cool.
that's what I'm just trying
Yeah.
to
Okay.
Just
Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
Let's start that one again.
So, what I was saying with the vegan movement is, I guess we as entrepreneurs and business owners around the world are also aware of the impact that we are having on the environment. Beyond Burger coming to South Africa is great, but it travels all the way from there on a ship, which is there being America, all the way down to Cape Town. That's a long time. And sure, the footprint is not as bad as an airplane, but you're still using diesel. There's still so much that goes to it. You're polluting the ocean. Blah,
So
blah,
much
blah.
that could be done different to be better.
Yeah, and I'm not mocking Beyond. They're doing a great job. I think we just all are aware of the impact. Boxes that we wrap everything in, plastic we wrap everything in. We have to be more aware, and how can we cut this down even more, and what's the next thing to change? And as long as we're always aware of that, we'll move in the right direction. So yeah, it's challenging times.
And there is a lot to be done, and a lot of space.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what is beautiful here, especially in the vegan food, and not just food, actually, in the vegan environment. There is a lot to be done.
Yeah.
Jay, it was a pleasure.
Thank you, Nathan.
Can you say again where we can find you on Instagram and also the Kind Kitchen?
Sure. So you can follow me on Instagram. My private account is Chef J Mac. There's underscores between all of that. And then on the Kind Kitchen, ZA, you'll easily find us there on Instagram. So that's the Kind Kitchen's account, my personal account. And you can just follow us on, you can go to our website, www.thekindkitchen.co.za, and you can get all the links there that you need. We've got some YouTube videos.
Yes.
But we need to update them. I know, okay. We'll get there, Nathan. We'll get there. But we're going to do more of that. We're going to have more. I mean, we still have decent amounts of subscribers. It could be better, but...
I mean, and what matters is the engagement. Like, you have a real value behind it.
Yeah.
Like, I think often we can fall into this trap of like creating content, followers. Yeah. But what you do with it is what matters.
Absolutely. And for us, we TikTok is there, but it's on the top top of mind. But it's like, who's gonna do that for us? So someone out there that loves what we're doing, wants to do TikTok for us, cool.
If you're in Cape Town, especially,
let me know.
Just let me know, and TikTok, as we say, internet will do the magic.
That's it. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Jay.
Cool.
I'm gonna let you go back to your baby.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for tuning in the Outstanding Vegan. This is the episode 2 here in Cape Town. That was a real pleasure, and I wish you all a beautiful day, beautiful night, whoever you are. Please tell me you have no audio. Yes. Amazing. Are we out, baby?
Yes, great.
Thank you, guys. That was great.